Hello, Pokemon trainers. GamerDama here to show you how to get Shiny Ho-Oh using macros in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Today I'll be using the 8BitDo Pro 3 controller and its software. You can use another 8BitDo Pro controller, but you will likely have to adjust the macros. I'll also be using Switch 2. You can use this for Switch 1. Again, you will likely just have to adjust the macros. In addition to the software for the macros, you're going to need EonTimer and 10 lines. For the 8BitDo Pro 3 controllers, the macros seem to cap out at 50,000 milliseconds, so you will need to remember that when converting your continuing screen frames, that's going to put you at a max of 2986. That puts you around 49,994. If we go to 2987, you can see that it gets us over 50,000, shy of 50,000. Not much, but still too much. Okay, so I'm going to hide EonTimer and 10 lines so you can see the macros here. This is the presses. There's 3 A presses, a B press, and then we'll move forward to trigger the encounter with Ho-Oh for the shiny check. You'll keep all the numbers the same except for 2 numbers. The 2 numbers that you'll be changing are the second number here, that's our SID milliseconds, and the 4th number here, that's our continuous screen frames converted to milliseconds. Settings for 10 lines. Game's going to be set to whichever version you're playing. Mono sound, help for button mode, see button A, none for extra button. Again, whichever console you're using. My target seeds are going to be 5969. You are able to choose whichever one you want. Seeds are going to be set to plus or minus 20 right now. When you're selecting what you want, you can change that to plus or minus 200 to give you more options to pick from. In addition to minimum and maximum advances, you can also widen that to get more options to pick from. Just remember that 2986 continuing screen frames is going to be your max choices. Offset 0, 600 required overall frames. That's what the timing is for the macros at that final press. So you want to keep it at 600 if you're going to be using this particular macros. Secret ID and trainer ID are necessary. Static 1 is going to be your choice for the method. Category under events. And Ho-Oh for the Pokemon that you're searching for. You'll keep it at star square to start with. Nature and gender at any. Ho-Oh doesn't have a gender, so you'll always keep that at any. You'll press submit to generate your options. And then whichever one you pick, you'll copy and paste it somewhere for your reference later. Such as like this. This is the one I'm going for. So I'd copy and paste that somewhere. And then we go into the macros, and we'd copy and paste our first number. So our seat number is our seat milliseconds for me is 30187. So I'd put in 30187, and then I would put into EonTimer the continuing screen frames to change it into advances, and then change that into milliseconds. And so my goal continuing screen frames is 2,270. That's converted into 38,006 milliseconds. So I would put 38006 into that 4th number for the continuous screen frames, 38006. And then we'll save, exit out we'll save, disconnect from the device using to record the macros, and do the run. Alrighty, so we have a timid Ho-Oh, so we'll go into 10 lines and put in its nature as well as its stats. So you want to uncheck shininess to any, and then you'll put its nature, and then you'll put its stats in. Starting with HP down to speed, in that order. Then you'll go down and press submit. We have one option here, so we don't need to do any leveling. So we'll do some math to adjust our macros. So reconnect your device to your controller. Open up the macro. So it looks like we are 50 milliseconds early. That minus 50 means you're early. So what you'll do is you'll add 50 milliseconds to your continuing or to your seed milliseconds. So my current seed milliseconds are 30187. We'll add 50 to that, and we get 30237. And then our target, or what we hit for continuing screen frames, was 2901. My goal was 2270. So we'll take 2901 that we hit, and we'll subtract the goal of 2270, and we get 631. So what you do next is, the seeds are about 16 to 17 milliseconds apart, maybe 15 to 17. I'm going to multiply this by 17. That'll multiply the difference from what I hit by 17, so 631 by 17, and I get 10,727. And so what we'll do now is, since we were late by that much, the number is higher than our target, that means we're late, we'll subtract the new number from the number in the macro. So I have 38,006. I'll subtract 10,727, and I get 27,279. Next up, you'll save, disconnect, and do the run again. Alright, so this time we have a modest HOO, so we'll put its nature and stats in again. Okay, so we are on seed this time, which is fantastic. We are still late on our continuing screen frames, so we'll take the 2382. We will subtract our target of 2270. We get 112, multiply 112 by 17, we get 1904. So we'll reconnect to our software for the macros. We won't change the seed milliseconds since we're on seed. We'll go and change the continuing screen frames milliseconds. So 27279. We'll subtract because we're late, so we need to subtract. So we'll take that 27279 and we'll subtract 1904, and we get 25375. 25375. We'll save, disconnect, and do the run again. Alright, so this time it looks like we are early on our milliseconds or it looks like we're early in continued screen frames by 2, and we are early on seed. Since we were on seed last time, I'm not going to adjust the seed number. What I'm going to do is go into the macro for the continuing screen frame and adjust it by, say, 8. So we are too early. We're aiming for a 2270. We hit 2268. So that'd be about 34 milliseconds that we would normally adjust. I'm going to only adjust by 8 just because that's half of 16, and 16 is half of, or technically 17 would be half of 34. But I don't want to adjust too much since I'm pretty close to where I want to be. So I'm going to go in increments of 8. So I'm going to add 8 to the continuing screen frame milliseconds in the macro. So 25375 plus 8 would be 25383. I'm going to save and disconnect and do the run again. I'm a little bit closer to continuing screen frames this time. So I'm going to add another 8. Still don't want to touch my SID milliseconds right now, just because we were on it before. So alright, so this time it looks like we are on continuing screen frames, but our SID has been adjusted somehow. I'm not going to change the SID milliseconds that we have in the macro, just because we were on it previously. For some reason, it's not processing that. So what I'm going to do is do the run again and see what happens. If it's not shiny, we'll adjust the SID milliseconds by, say, 8. Okay, so we're hovering around where we want to be. We will just continue making very minor adjustments until we hit what we want. Very minor, nothing too big. So I ended up adjusting it by 2 here. And there we have it, shiny Ho-Oh, using macros. Like and subscribe for more.